Whatever the topic of global superpowers comes up, there's always one question that just cuts through everything else. Who really has the most powerful military? It's this massive, high-stakes question, and today we're putting the three heavyweights, the United States, China, and Russia, right under the microscope. So who is it? The US? China? Russia? It's really easy to just get lost in spreadsheets and numbers. But the real answer? Well, that's a lot deeper. It's about what they can actually do in the real world. So let's get into it. Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, let's use an analogy. Picture a huge mountain. The United States is standing right at the very top, at the summit. China is climbing up, and they are climbing fast. And then there's Russia, kind of holding on to this rugged, battle-scarred ledge. That single image, it perfectly captures the dynamic we're about to break down. So to figure out who really stands where on that mountain, we've got to start at the bottom. We need to look at the fundamentals, the raw numbers that are the bedrock of any military strength. And right away, the differences are pretty stark. You look at China, and boom, they've got the world's largest standing army with over 2 million active soldiers. But then you look at spending. The US defense budget is pushing $1 trillion. That's more than the next several countries combined. It's just a staggering amount of money. All right, let's get our boots on the ground and talk about land power. A ground war is about way more than just soldiers. It's about the steel and firepower they bring to the fight. And this is where the story starts to get really complicated. Tanks are really the armored fist of any ground force. And when we compare these three, we see three totally different strategies playing out. One is all about having the best tech. Another is about pure mass production. And the third is dealing with absolutely staggering losses. And for Russia, the reality has been just brutal. Since 2022, it's estimated that they've lost over 4,000 main battle tanks in Ukraine. That's a catastrophic number that has seriously degraded their conventional land power, forcing them to literally pull ancient 50-year-old models out of storage just to fill the gaps. Then you've got the US M1 Abrams, which is, arguably the most battle-tested, technologically advanced tank on the planet. But China is in a full-on sprint to catch up, pumping out its modern Type 99 tanks as part of this incredible military expansion. They're building and building fast. Okay, now let's take to the skies, because in modern warfare, air combat is everything. And up here, having better technology isn't just an edge, it's the whole game. And in the air, the US advantage is just overwhelming. Look at that number, around 13,000 military aircraft. That means the United States has a bigger air force than the next handful of countries put together. This scale of it is just hard to comprehend. And it really comes down to this fifth-generation fighter gap. The US fields this massive, combat-proven fleet of F-22 and F-35 stealth fighters. China's answer is the J-20, Mighty Dragon. Now, it's not quite considered a peer to the American jets yet, but they are churning them out at an insane rate, about 100 every year. They're trying to close that tech gap with pure industrial power. But here's where America has a capability that is truly in a league of its own. Strategic stealth bombers. The B-2 Spirit and its brand new successor, the B-21 Raider, give the US the ability to strike any target anywhere on Earth without being detected. It's a global power tool that China and Russia simply do not have. Now let's head out to the high seas, because when we start talking about navies, that whole debate of quantity versus quality becomes crystal clear. And here is a headline that might genuinely surprise you. If you just count the number of ships in the water, China now has the largest navy in the world. Over 370 warships, and that number is growing every single month. But wait a second, is that the whole story? Not even close. See, if you're just counting ships, yeah, China's ahead. But if you measure naval power by tonnage, the sheer size and capability of those ships, and especially by aircraft carrier power, well then the US is playing a completely different sport. The heart of the US Navy's power is its fleet of 11 nuclear-powered supercarriers. These are basically floating American cities with their own air forces that can go anywhere in the world. You combine that with the most advanced nuclear submarine fleet ever built, and you have an advantage that sheer numbers just can't match. Of course, no comparison of military strength is complete until you talk about the ultimate trump card, nuclear weapons. And right now, the balance of power here is going through a historic and kind of scary shift. For decades, the story was pretty simple. You had two undisputed nuclear superpowers, Russia and the United States. Between them, they controlled almost 90% of all the nuclear warheads on planet Earth. End of story. But look at this. This is the new story. China is in the middle of the fastest nuclear expansion of any country in history. They're adding an estimated 100 warheads to their arsenal every single year. This is fundamentally changing the world from a two-power nuclear dynamic to a three-power one. So after looking at the ground, the air, the sea, and the ultimate weapons, what's the final verdict? Let's bring it all together and see where everyone stands on that mountain. So here it is, the bottom line. The United States is still the undisputed leader when it comes to projecting power globally, and it has a massive tech advantage. China's strength is its sheer size, its massive force, and the unbelievable speed of its naval and nuclear buildup. And Russia? Well, its conventional army has been mauled, but its gigantic nuclear arsenal and advanced submarine fleets still make it an incredibly formidable power. And that brings us right back to where we started, back to that mountain. The United States is still standing at the summit, with an unmatched view of the world below. Russia is clinging to that rugged, dangerous ledge, scarred but still there. And China? China is climbing that slope with a speed and a determination that the world has frankly never seen before. That image, it just captures everything perfectly. The US is on top, for now. But the real burning question isn't about who is the most powerful today. It's about tomorrow. With China climbing faster than any power in modern history, the question we all have to ask is for how much longer?